Hey guys, Haz here at Shield Canine, and as you can see, I am not in Canada anymore. I'm in sunny South Florida with my dogs. We've been here hanging out, training, going for walks. We're gonna enjoy all the various things that you are going to run into on your daily walks, depending on where you live, of course. And we are gonna talk about why this is important. This isn't like a special dog, okay? Just about any dog, 99.9% of dogs are able to do this with good training. And you're telling me as a dog owner, you wouldn't choose to just enjoy the day with your dog like this? Now what you're seeing here is dynamic impulse control, okay? Like the dog obviously has a lot of different options and he's taking it all in. You'll notice that I don't make him look at me. I allow him to take in the environment and look around because I believe that dogs, when you're regularly walking them, should be able to do this. Just as you, when you walk, you don't look in the same spot. You look around, you take it all in, you enjoy the environment. A walk should be an enriching experience for a dog. We also need the dog to be under control because just like children, they're able to get into a lot of trouble. A lot of my clients all around the world get to enjoy this, and that's why I've started doing walks like this to show you guys, like, you can really just live with your dog like this. I know I do a lot of dog sport stuff, and we'll talk about dog sport later, but this is like daily life. So it's important to understand why we do this and why we think it's important. And any dog trainer worth their salt should be able to show you this type of control with their dog. All it is this dynamic impulse control. People want to pretend that dogs don't have minds of their own, right? Oh, if I just show him with cookies, he's always going to do what I want him to do. What? My response to that is, will your children always do what you want them to do just because they know you want them to do it? Right? Of course not. We know that that's not the way it works, right? For kids, I don't know why we expect dogs to live in a system successfully that we as human beings aren't even able to be successful in. I'm gonna give Gage a little bit of treat here. Yep. Oh, good. With me. Sit. Good. Up. Down. Good. With me. Now, this isn't particularly fancy stuff that you're seeing here, right? This is just normal, everyday stuff that your dog should be able to do. Dog sport, competition is years and years of work. This is just regular, everyday stuff that your dog should be able to do in a couple of months of good training and consistency from you. I think there's a lot of miscommunication about what balanced training is. It is the amalgamation of positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. I'm not even, you know what? I was about to start saying some like operant conditioning, using all these like sciencey words, but I don't want to do that. I want to be able to talk to you the way that, like, you know, a normal person would talk to you. So all balanced training is the idea that you reward your dog for good behavior, you shape new behaviors with positive reinforcement, you incentivize the dog to do the right thing, but you also apply pressure, both to reinforce existing behaviors and to correct, of course, undesirable behaviors. Dogs don't have a sense of morality. They don't have a moral compass, right? They don't have an internal understanding of what is right and wrong. For him, it might be completely right to run over to another dog and get in a dog fight. He doesn't understand any of that, right? Dogs are creatures of impulses, right? They see things and they react to things. A good dog trainer understands this. They don't use all this emotional mumbo jumbo, you know, to try and guilt you into doing things. They don't, you know, use all these big sciencey words, right? And I'm very familiar with behavioral science, but they don't use all these big, you know, sciencey words and talk about quadrants of operant conditioning and all this stuff to get you, you know, baffled with bullshit, so to speak. They explain to you in simple English why your dog is doing X, Y, or Z, right? And they explain to you how to get your dog to stop doing X and how to start doing Y. This is real training, and it's really important to understand that this is modern training. So this is the other thing that I want to push back against, okay? So there's this common misconception out there, and it is perpetuated by people that are in that force-free, positive-only training camp, right? That their form of training is modern training, and this is antiquated. I always kind of laugh at that. Like e-collars, if you think about it logically for a second, it doesn't really stand up to any kind of logic, okay? If you think about what an e-collar is, right? It's modern technology. It is the most modern technology. We're not talking about the e-collars of like 30 years ago. Like, we're talking about the e-collars that they're manufacturing now. And the way that they enable you to communicate wirelessly with your dog. You pair that with our modern understanding of dog behavior and dog training techniques, and that's true modern training. The idea that clickers and cookies is like somehow cutting edge science is nonsense, okay? It is absolutely not. It's been around for a very long time. We understand what you can accomplish with that, and we also understand the limitations of that. And everything has a limitation, which is where the concept of balance training comes from. different types of training have limitations, and we bring them all together in an amalgamation of different training techniques that allow us to optimize the performance of the dog, whether it's on the field or on the street. And anyone that tells you different is not performing at a high level on the field, and they're not even able to do this on the street. And again, I've said this before, this is, for me, simple training. Like, this is not complicated stuff here. Now, I'm going to address something. A lot of people say that the dog is in a constant state of fear. He's in a state of fear. Now, he only stays with you because you shock him when he leaves. Now, that is a very crude use of the e-collar, and I understand why people that don't actually understand modern training would say something like that. But again, the e-collar is so much, and I'm talking about the e-collar, but the use of pressure. The e-collar is just wireless pressure, right? You actually can do this without an e-collar, but of course, modern technology, right? This enables you to do things so much more clearly, so much more effectively. If you can't make it here to train with me in person, the good news is you can train with me online. I spent years perfecting these online training courses. From puppy to adult, from pet to working dog, we have courses for all of you. The mistake a lot of people make when they think about using corrections or pressure in dog training is that it's only for something bad. Now, I've talked about this before in other videos, but this is something that I see that I'm going to have to get back to a lot. I use the e-collar several times there to enhance my communication with the dog. That's modern training, right? Does he look sad? Does he look upset? Obviously not. It's completely fine. And that's because he understands it as communication. Now, I can definitely use the e-collar to correct bad behavior, to communicate to the dog that he did something bad. But if your only view using pressure in training in general is that, then I would say that you really don't actually understand modern dog training. Now, I want to talk about something else that I don't think enough people talk about. I've talked about it a little bit in my lives, and that is the concept of building resilience in our dogs. Now, as parents of children, we all inherently know that it is our job to not only raise our children and feed them, so on and so forth. Our job is to also create resilience. A resilient being that is able to handle pressure, that is able to handle, stress, that is able to overcome and accomplish anything that you want them to accomplish. We all want our kids to be all you can be. It is strange to me that we don't have that idea when it comes to dogs, right? Do you think when he was like a young dog, when he was 6, 7 months old, that this was easy, this would be easy for him? The bike going by, the motorcycle, the people passing in close proximity? Of course not. Through the process of training, through desensitization, right, that you can only accomplish with balance training, we create a dog that is more resilient, right? The use of pressure in dog training, not just to communicate to the dog when he's wrong, not that there's anything particularly wrong with that, but to communicate to the dog when he's right, to reassure the dog, to increase a desired behavior, only also has the wonderful benefit of creating a more resilient and capable dog. A dog that you can do things like this with, or a dog that you can go on the sport field with and compete at the very highest levels, right? Building resilience in our dogs and puppies is one of our jobs as dog owners. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't take that seriously enough, right? They're always thinking in terms of, oh, he's scared of something. Let me just, either hide from the thing, or let me kind of try and bribe him through it, or, oh no, the bribery won't work. There must be something fundamentally wrong with him, Instead of saying, hey, like anybody who's raised kids, you've known, hey, your kids are afraid of things that don't even make sense to be afraid of. They don't want to do things that are good for them, whether it's going to school or eating their vegetables or whatever else. And we know that part of creating a functional, resilient being that is going to be able to exercise impulse control, part of that is in raising them in a balanced way, reinforcing good behaviors, right? Correcting bad behaviors, teaching them to come through, pressure in a productive and meaningful way. And this is something that a lot of people neglect in dog training because they look at it from a very myopic standpoint. I'm here to tell you that whatever you want to accomplish with your dog, you can accomplish. Guys, I really just want you to stop thinking about dog training in a myopic sense. It's actually much more complex than do you reward your dog or do you correct your dog. That being said, I want the average dog owner to understand that you are going to be able to do this if you train your dog properly, regardless of the type of dog that you have. So a lot of people say, look, with me, I want my dog to look super excited and happy, down, all right? And my response to them is, when you walk down the street, do you skip and wave your arms like a 2-year-old child? No, of course you don't, right? You just walk normally. You look around, you're in a low state of arousal. You're not hyped up, right? There's a time to be hyped up. Walking down the street casually is not it. Hanging out in the house is not it, right? There's time to be in a low state of arousal, and there's time to be in a high state of arousal. Now, one of the fantastic things about truly understanding dogs, how they learn, they think, they communicate, is you have the ability to open the emotions of the dog. What I'm gonna do now, guys, is I'm going to access high levels of arousal in my dog, and I'm gonna translate that into functional behavior. You ready? Foos. All right, so now you can see here, my dog now is acting completely different than how he was acting when I was walking down the street. And that's because this is now a productive behavior that I've asked for that I can translate on the competition field, right? This is something, foos, you can see high level of arousal, dog amped up, spin, oof, out. And for those people that say, foos, for those people here, that say that, oh, he's only like that because of the ball, you notice that the ball was present the entire time, right? With me. And he wasn't amped up. Foos. Good boy. Are you ready? Plots. Are you ready? Spin. Rotate. 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 Here. So, the ball was present the entire time. Platz. Sit. Stay. Foos. And yet now all of a sudden it's a completely different picture. Now, what I always say to my clients is, do you want your dog walking down the street like this? And of course the answer is, well, I guess that doesn't really actually make a lot of sense. The mistake a lot of people make, they try to train their sport dog like a pet dog, and they try to train their pet dog like a sport dog. And what they end up with is something in the middle that's not good in either capacity, okay? Being able to access the different emotions in the dog, channel them into behaviors when you need them, is part of being a successful modern dog trainer. And if you don't know how to do that, it's totally fine, right? It's not something that maybe the average person would figure out on their own, and that's why you need good coaching. You need to go to someone that actually knows how to do this stuff. But understanding that there is a time for different behavior and different emotion that is attached to the behavior. When I'm walking, I need my dog to be calm, right? I've done this before, but I think it bears doing it again. I need my dog to be calm. Foos. Good job. And when I'm focused heeling onto the sport field, I need my dog to look like this, all right? There's a time for everything, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Sit. Platz. Foos. Yeah. Good job. Brr. Brr. Out. Platz. Do you want to know how I just did that? Guys, I have all the information on how I trained what you just watched online right now. For me, a good dog training system works for any dog, all right? There's a lot of ideas out there like, oh, this kind of system only works for that type of dog, or that kind of system only works for this type of dog. And that's true in a lot of cases when we're talking about a lot of different training systems, because they rely exclusively on one thing. They're not what I would call appropriately balanced, right? So maybe if it's a positive training system and that's pretty much all there is there, it relies on the dog having a lot of food drive, a lot of desire to work for the food. It also might rely on the dog not being overly confident or independent. It relies on the dog being very, very pack-driven. And there's other systems maybe where it's super rough on the dog all the time, and it needs a dog to be super strong, because if the dog's a little bit nervous or sensitive, what it's going to do is it's going to exacerbate that and make it even worse for the dog. So for me, a good dog training system is one that works for every dog. It's a balanced system. It utilizes both reinforcement. It incentivizes the dog to do the right thing, but it also puts pressure in the right places, pressure to encourage behavior, pressure to build resilience, pressure to also correct bad behavior, and it does so intelligently. So for me, that's what a good dog training system is. The other side of it too is, what are we talking about specifically, right? A lot of people conflate maybe a training system that is good for training a dog, you know, for a competition obedience or something like that with what their pet dog needs. And while that might be a fun thing to do with your pet dog, that's actually not going to be particularly productive. I have different systems for different outcomes, right? My systems are very outcome based. I have a system specifically for sport dogs, and I have a system specifically for pet dogs. I have a system to deal with reactive behavior, resource guarding, so on and so forth, right? So there's a lot of different ways that we can utilize a dog training system properly. Hey guys, I wanted to take a moment to quickly mention my book, No Nonsense Dog Training. Like the title says, this is a straight to the point, no fluff, no BS dog training book. Complete guide on how to train a dog from A to Z. No cool stories, just real training, fixing behavioral problems, and so much more. Check it out on Amazon or shieldcanine.ca.